Hey guys, if you're looking for help with your Amazon business in terms of troubleshooting or strategy, visit sellersessions.com/consultancy or drop me a message to danny@sellersessions.com. Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. Again, I bring back Darren Saul. Hey Darren, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you, mate?
Yeah, good. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Wanted to talk about Vendor Central versus Seller Central and how more brands are moving away from it. Vendor Central, that is, over to Seller Central.
Makes total sense. I've been in Vendor Express, and a lot of people that I talk about trying to get their listings back, which we can go into later, is that Vendor Central is not all that glitters is gold, is it?
No, not at all. In fact, funny quote I once got from a vendor manager at a trade show was he handed me his card and said, here's my card, sign up here. If you never see me again or never hear from me, it's a good thing. So that shows the level of service Amazon was offering for their Vendor Central and Express program at the time.
Yeah, I mean, they're rare sightings, aren't they? Account managers on the vendor side seems to, I've seen, I think more people have seen a Loch Ness Monster than they get to see the vendor managers. But so yeah, tell me a little bit more about, because you kind of almost like a Vendor Central in what you do, but you put it on steroids and you kind of follow up on promises, etc. Because I think a lot of these offers that come along, they do this outreach, get you on board, and then they disappear into the bricks. You don't see them again, do you, for a while?
No, that's it. That's exactly why I started out kind of telling you about that quote, because it rings true today. Even when you're working with the vendor manager, good luck getting a hold of them sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we developed Vendo essentially. Eventually, when we started out, originally we were repping brands direct to Amazon. And found out many of the pain points involved, a la no control, getting a hold of somebody to help. Mm-hmm. So we developed kind of our Seller Central model years ago, before the explosion of private label and FBA, because we wanted to give brands back that control. So today we're helping a lot of brands migrate their Vendor Central business over to Seller Central in a very controlled fashion.
Makes sense. Cool. So do you want to give us a bit of background, some stats and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Vendor Central platform, when Vendor Express was still around, about 60% of the sellers were on Vendor Central about 18 months ago. And today, the shift has happened where you're now closer to 60% plus of sellers are in the third-party marketplace, showing the real shift in how brands are approaching selling on Amazon. Obviously, with the shutdown of Vendor Express last year, that's contributed to that. But certainly shows that a lot of brands are recognizing, hey, I want to control my brand on Amazon, and the best way for me to do that today is through the marketplace.
Yeah, no, totally. Because I think what happens is that when people are signing up, they just assume because you've got all of these different tools, naturally Amazon's going to take care of it. And because it says sold by Amazon, you're going to end up getting some really good results with little to no effort. But obviously that doesn't work like that. So let's talk about some of the biggest factors in terms of control.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you said that about the way, Amazon markets that Vendor Central platform with the marketing tools, things you get, because in today's world, Seller Central offers you just as many marketing tools, especially with Brand Registry 2.0. Yeah. I think there's maybe one or two things left on the Vendor Central side that you don't get on the Seller Central side.
Well, you've got product display ads, haven't you, that come under the AMS, but it's rumored that they're making their way to Seller Central anyway. So that's correct. One of the marketing leads. Because what we used to do back in the day in terms of Vendor Express, the only reason we wanted to get in there was to get AMS. And to get AMS, you've done the sacrificial lamb. You took a product that was dying on its backside, offer it to Amazon, knowing that they're only going to order 1 or 2 units. You just keep them sweet, just have a little bit of stock on hand and fire them out through your 3PL, and that kept your AMS accounts open.
Yeah, but the converse to that, the con to that was a lot of brands got roped into AMG at the time. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of brands spending 25, 30 grand on an AMG campaign and getting little to no ROI, basically zero on it. So there's kind of cons to that because you get sold into, hey, I'm going to get all these great impressions and conversions, and nothing happens.
Yeah. So as you said, so let's look at some of the, what are some of the supposed benefits of Vendor Central, what they give you. So what's the tooling that you got? It used to be the A+ content, which is basically the EBC pages now. Yeah. Then there was the video, which yeah, was a great attribute, but obviously that's being introduced. Then obviously you felt protected because you're almost under like a brand registry, but brand registry's been around for a while. You had headline ads, which then moved into Seller Central anyway. So you don't have access to product display ads. What other advantage, other than says a badge that says sold by Amazon, what are the other supposed advantages?
Well, the advantages that Amazon proposes to you anyway is basically that access of, hey, sold by Amazon, which a lot of people argue today. You get the same protections on the Prime, whether you're a third-party seller or an Amazon seller. You still got the same return policy. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of that, those pros have gone away as far as a vendor central offering. I think a lot of people like the automated, hey, I just list my products with Vendor Central. I get a PO every Monday. I've got that wholesale relationship and let Amazon do most of the work, even though they're not really doing most of the work. So there's still some level of automation that a lot of smaller sellers like if they're not really leveraging or leading into Amazon properly. Yeah. That Vendor Central offers you almost kind of an autopilot approach that Seller Central does not.
Yeah, I mean, the accounting is like a nightmare. If Amazon, you know, I can't speak of being in Vendor Central, but when in Express, when they're firing off these POs for like 1 or 2 units, I know they want to reduce their risk and everything else. But one, you've got to have all that stock on hand in your, at the time, you had to have your stock on hand in your 3PL. So if you're based in the UK, for instance, like me, and you're in the US, you have to leave it in your 3PL, make sure it's on hand. You don't know how many units they're going to have, because the other thing is they'll send a PO out, and from memory, it's like 24, 48, 72 hours that it's got to be redeemed by. And even when you was like reject, you still get loads of emails constantly. So that was always
sorry, Danny, to that point, that's a big reason we created Vendo as well, is because never miss a sale, right? The algorithm is the one spitting out those POs to you every Monday. And sometimes if one of your SKUs isn't performing very well, they're not going to order very much of it. You're going to run out of stock, and then you can't sell that item.
Yeah.
So totally, a lot of pain points there.
Yeah, and from other people that I've spoken to, is that there are times where, you know, the account manager might just come along and want a reduction, like push hard and want 15, 20% off, which is quite a lot, because that eats into everyone's margin, you know. And some people don't have that available to them when they're working on the vendor side, you know, in terms of margin to play with. I mean, I suppose one of the upsides is that Amazon collects. You're not paying for that. From my, if my memory serves right, you are not paying shipping to Amazon. That's what Amazon covers. But that's probably one of the only benefits, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of baked into your agreement with Amazon. You know, there's a few facets to the agreement, and you can negotiate these things with them. A lot of people don't realize that. They just accept. Amazon sends them a vendor agreement and said, hey, I want co-op of 20 to 30%. I want this allowance and that allowance, and they just sign here. But shipping is actually included as a percentage allowance, freight allowance.
Yeah.
So you kind of are paying, but you're not for shipping.
Yes. Gotcha. So, yeah. It's hidden on the inside.
Exactly.
Terms. Remind me what the terms are. From memory, serve me right, wasn't it 60 days in most cases?
Yeah, it can actually be 30, 60, or 90 days. If they pay you in 30 days, they take a 2% discount.
Yeah. And do they do that and pay you on time, or do they take the 2% and not pay you on time?
No. So going back to the accounting nightmare you referenced, I'll never forget last year, we spent probably, I'm not even exaggerating here, almost 45 days fighting back and forth with Amazon on behalf of our client to get chargebacks and unauthorized deductions properly reconciled, because they just send you, you know, I logged into a portal yesterday. They just show, here's a $6,000 adjustment. They don't put details. They don't tell you why. You've got to file a dispute, file a case. It's a nightmare sometimes to get your money back off of some of those deductions.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we're not probably showing the best light from like experience and what we're chatting about, but have you seen success stories? Who are they? Do we know any of these brands that it's really benefiting for? Is it the high rollers that everyone knows, either super established, who've already done their brand recognition and their household names? Does that work for them to be on Amazon or not, in terms of the vendor program?
Absolutely. The other side of my mouth will say that I've seen a lot of successful sellers on Vendor Central where they're generating millions. We've dealt with, and we manage some of those accounts where they're doing millions on Vendor Central, and those are more legacy type accounts where they've been around a while, where they have other retail distribution points. I haven't yet dealt with solely Amazon Vendor Central type brands that are knocking it out of the park, but I certainly have. Our team has worked with a lot of brands where, they're at Walmart, they're at Amazon, they're on TV, they're in retail. So as the brand recognition goes, like a Nike or an Apple, there's a lot of successful stories as it relates to Vendor Central accounts.
And I imagine the account managers don't disappear. They come out the bricks. They're available. If they're dealing with, say, a Nike or something like that. I'm imagining the lip services there as well, or not?
Yeah, it is. We deal with a couple of large as seen on TV companies.
Yeah.
And they have actual relationships with vendor managers where they can actually go meet and talk to somebody. And they get some decent service from them. But then in some categories where they don't have vendor managers, they get very little to none. And these are brands spending millions of dollars on TV every year.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying is when you've got the strength of as seen on TV, people will naturally go and look onto Amazon. They will do a search. It says sold by Amazon. Therefore, the credence is there. They've already got their Prime account, the credit cards in there. They feel safe and they've seen it on TV. And they've got the awareness because it's broadcasted off platform, which is driving them onto the platform. So, but for a brand new or a small-ish private label, even if it's 7, maybe 8 figures, some of them, it won't necessarily be a good platform, but it's good for household names.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of those, we've seen this because we have the data to back it up. A lot of the TV spend and ad spend, those brands that are directing them to their websites and to their TV ad campaigns, a lot of that traffic gets siphoned off over to Amazon. As everyone knows, people are going to go search on Amazon anyway for those products.
Yeah.
So they're gaining that market share back on Amazon, and to do it in that, they get a better margin sometimes working direct with Amazon. So that's why they go that route. And that's why the algorithm is spotting that traffic, and that's why they're placing larger POs with those brands.
Makes sense. Cool. So you got some hacks for us in terms of negotiation and stuff with Amazon?
Yeah, well, just in terms of one thing we've seen, and this isn't necessarily a negotiation with them, but again, going back to that point, you can negotiate with Amazon. So if there are sellers listening that are dealing with Vendor Central accounts, it is possible to leverage some of your seller data to reduce your co-op fees or your return allowances or your shipping freight deductions, things like that. So don't be afraid to ask vendor managers for reduced rates because you can negotiate those things. As far as some tips we've seen, it's funny, we have Vendor Central accounts, and then when we have the buy box on Seller Central, obviously Amazon's always going to match your price. So we've done tests where we wanted to sell out of the Vendor Central inventory quickly. So what we did was we lowered our Seller Central price, and Amazon had to match it, and we've seen them lower their price by as much as 20-30%. So we were able to offer a bunch of customers discounts where Amazon was footing the discount basically on that because they had already bought the product from our vendor. So definitely a little bit of hack there where if you have both sides of the equation, you can get Amazon to lower their price very quickly.
Cool. Sounds good. Is there anything you'd like to add before we go?
Yeah. One thing is, there is the new debate going on, and the old debate was, should I be on vendor or seller? The new one is, should I be on both?
Yeah.
And I think just some benefits of being on both, and one thing we did not cover as a pro for Vendor Central is authorship control of your listing, catalog contribution. So very important that Vendor Central will always win the authorship of the listing. So sometimes if you can't get brand gated or get full control through brand registry, having a Vendor Central account just for the purpose of controlling your listing can be a very helpful tip.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Because obviously there's been a lot of the hacks where people's listings, like brand names have been changed, all sorts of drama's been going through where people are using the Vendor Central accounts. That's caused a lot of problem. We called it content jacking. So people have been doing that kind of damage to take their competitors out the game, moving them to different categories. God knows what. It's been crazy. We've had some guests on we had one guy that was warned by this seller. Then he went ahead and stranded his inventory, put it in a restricted category that you cannot reach that requires additional paperwork, which was incredible. what they'd done, and they tied him up in knots, and he had the captive team on it and everything. So very interesting times at the moment.
Just another dirty tactic from sellers and how competitive it's getting out there. I'm sure you could do a whole show on just dirty tactics.
Oh, yeah, it's getting covered many times over, especially leading into Q4. It's quite incredible how Amazon will close the loop. Like we've had recently, the whole thing with the reviews, the way they're restructured and they're spelled out. Literally, you can't go after your competition and abuse them, or you will be suspended, or, and your account won't be reinstated, or whatever it may be. But as soon as those kind of protocols are put into place, there's a new set that appear. There's always someone's chasing a new loophole.
Well, it is changing, and on that point, reviews on Vendor Central and Seller Central don't differ much. You've got the Vine program versus the early review program. Mm-hmm. And from a cost standpoint, the early review program in Seller Central is actually cheaper than the Vine program in Vendor Central. So even from a review perspective, you're not better off being in Vendor Central versus Seller Central anymore.
Do you know what? That's the thing. Do you know that Vine program? I wish they'd make it out there for everyone, because if someone says, look, Dan, pay yourself $1,000, we'll get you 30 reviews, pay £33, is my math roughly right? I'd be all over that all day long. $1,000, save all the pain, because everyone's like, you're playing Russian roulette with your listing with zeros reviews, going hard on PPC all this time, just to get reviews like naturally. So if you could use the Vine program, I know that you can get smashed on some of them. We had Lee Ran on the show. Yep. And when he was in the exclusive program, he done Vine. He had his first review was a 1-star. He could have died, basically. But then it all turned around. Then because they're Vine, the strength of those, the reputation are really good. And he went on and had a hit with that product. And he had no issues with like ranking and stuff after that. But it's that getting that initial review, seeing that 1-star after paying for, obviously you can't control the reviews. And if you've got a good product, the bad reviews should be far and few between, but that's what I'd like to see shifted over. I know it's difficult to do at tremendous scale, and not everyone's going to see the value of paying $1,000, but I would pay that all day long on a product launch, no problem.
Well, isn't it ironic that those both review programs are technically a violation of Amazon's terms of service?
I know, it's fantastic, but at the end of the day, who makes the rules? Not us. So.
Exactly, but yes, I think when you hear about all these tactics on chatbots and other things to drive traffic and get reviews and generate launch strategies. If we could have a program just to buy reviews, I think every seller would opt into that all day long. Yeah,
sounds good. Cool. Right. Best way of reaching you?
Yep. You can reach me, Darren, DARREN, at vendocommerce.com. Protect your brand and sell more.
Sounds good. Guys, thanks for joining us. Darren, thank you for joining us. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care.